10. Franklin D. Roosevelt manipulated. President Franklin D. Roosevelt was a captive of the Talmudists from the time he went to Albany as governor of the state of New York. President Roosevelt was long beholden to the Talmudists. The story of how President Roosevelt lied the United States into the desperate predicament in which the United States today finds itself in the Middle East is not a long story. It is the story of how President Roosevelt railroaded the United States into the Second World War. Germany and Poland had agreed upon a formula giving Germany access across the Danzig Corridor. President Wilson, in 1919, created the Danzig Corridor, which separated Germany into two halves. In order to keep Germany weak, at the instigation of Talmudists at the Versailles Peace Conference, President Wilson cut Germany into two halves, separated by a strip of German territory granted to Poland, which divided Germany into two halves. Crossing the Danzig Corridor from Western Germany to Eastern Germany or vice versa was like traveling from one country to another. The inconveniences, the delays and the annoyances to Germany and Poland had finally worked out their acceptable arrangement that eliminated a majority of German objections to the Danzig Corridor. Germany and Poland reached a basis that it would serve to prevent Germany's resort to more aggressive action. Adolf Hitler was the head of the German government at the time. Talmudists throughout the world opposed the peaceful adjustment between Germany and Poland of the Danzig Corridor situation. Unrestricted access of traffic between the western half and the eastern half of Germany would soon make Germany again the most powerful country in the world. Talmudists throughout the world dreaded the thought. In spite of the difficulties placed in the way of reaching a solution for the Danzig Corridor problem, Germany and Poland finally agreed upon a formula. Preparations were being made to consummate their understanding in a treaty. Both Germany and Poland were satisfied the formula agreed upon served both governments. Shortly before the agreement with Germany was to be signed, Poland secretly signed a treaty with Great Britain dated August 25, 1939. Great Britain agreed in that treaty to hasten the military assistance of Poland with all the support and assistance in its power if Poland were attacked by Germany. With that assurance from Great Britain, Poland broke off negotiations with Germany. Germany did not understand the reason for Poland's sudden change of mind and decided to proceed with the terms of the arrangement agreed upon with Poland. That was the start of the Second World War. Great Britain knowingly deceived Poland when Great Britain actually promised military assistance to Poland if Poland were attacked by Germany. Great Britain could not come to Poland's assistance, and Great Britain knew it when Great Britain's offer of military assistance to Poland was made. Poland fell into Great Britain's trap and discontinued negotiations with the Germans. Poland's unexplained discontinuance of negotiations with Germany to complete the Danzig Corridor agreement resulted in Germany's troops moving into the Danzig Corridor without an agreement with Poland. Great Britain knew exactly what would take place in that event, that it would mean the beginning of the Second World War. The rest is history. Talmudists of the world welcomed a war against Germany in 1939 to somehow crush the Nazi government, as the Talmudists of the world crushed Germany in the First World War in 1917 by railroading the United States into the war in Europe as Great Britain's ally. President Roosevelt tried his hardest in 1939 to railroad the United States into the war in Europe to accommodate Talmudists in the United States. Germany learned by experience in the First World War that the entry of the United States into the war in Europe in 1939 could prove equally disastrous to Germany if the United States were railroaded into war in Europe as Great Britain's ally. Germany exercised extraordinary caution not to provide the United States with justification under international law to declare war against Germany. That situation presented President Roosevelt with a problem. President Roosevelt decided if it were impossible for him to get into the war in Europe through the front door, that he would railroad the United States into the war in Europe through the back door. Through the back door meant through Japan. President Roosevelt finally did railroad the United States into the war in Europe through the back door, through Japan.